Oh, there's the power is on the cart back there. Yeah, if you're low on power, then go ahead and grab one of those.
I'm 53. Oh, should be fine, Tim. How do I do it?
Oh, well, apparently I saved it to my computer. I managed to get some computer back, so.
Oh, did you?
That's what I did.
Okay, so then all of us would have our stuff.
Do you all have your stuff then?
Yeah, except here, JC, pull it off real quick so I can get mine.
Hold up, JC. Hold up one second.
I closed it. That's nice.
I forgot that these weren't like complete 360 chairs.
Yup.
I was like,
They're great for cracking back.
There you go.
I can never do that. I just don't know.
I did that when I walked in here, so I would be able to do it
Now also go ahead and bring up your tutorial.
JC,
now. Just take it and yeah.
how much of time?
If I don't crack my back at least like 15 times a day, I don't move. So I never did figure out, when you record these,
Mm-hmm.
do you hear all of our mindless chit chat too?
Probably some of it. Yeah. I haven't really had a chance to listen to one of those, and kind of go around in it. I'll start playing it and then just make sure there's audio, because
Now.
yeah, with especially when I have, yeah, I bet I do, because I think the audio is coming through the speakers there.
Okay, now all of us have it.
All of you is good. Okay.
Fine. Okay. Wait, did you say open a new one? Like, create a different one?
Maybe I don't have it.
Move to trash. JC. Sorry, JC.
And my computer is still downloading Visual Studio.
Yeah, it's a beast. Now remind me before we're all said and done to tell you what configurations you have to make a change on. It's not hard. You go to Tools. The first menu choice is like Add processes or Add something, and then you click.
You want me to wait until Monday to tell myself?
You can if you want. Uh-huh.
Will you have your USB then?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. The tap. What?
So let's see where we're at.
Ooh.
See, we added a text field. Changed some settings on that. Got down to that point.
Where'd it all go?
Okay.
No, food tracker that to JC. Still haunting me.
To this day.
Could not open file.
Can that open your file?
Why did you?
All right. Let me see if I can. No, don't add to GitHub account. Stop. Okay. Open another project. No, that's moment.
I want to refund.
Why did
my
I
phone.
copy the?
Oh,
Food truck. Food truck. Food truck. All of my scenes.
you know, Windows has made it easy, so if you slide one all the way to the side, it just makes it half the screen. Slide one to the other side, makes it half the screen. Why can't Apple do that?
Why is everything gone? That's the real question.
Okay, I just got everything open. So I'll bet.
You're good?
We're all
Okay. Now, once this is open, then you have your, it depends upon what you want to have showing and so forth. Now over here on the right-hand side, it probably came up blank. This is utility.
I came up preview. I don't
Preview. Let me see. I think it's under the view.
Great. I have to restart everything.
Oh, this is gonna bother me.
You're gonna
On the logo.
Under view, you can show whatever you want. Like if you wanted to show the navigators, you can show the project navigator.
infrared. I have to redo every single thing.
It's when you have the logo, the font's so huge, we can't read what I'm doing. How do I even change that?
Maybe it'd be better if we did redo
Maybe.
it. Sounds like a lot of you are. Okay.
The font is-
Go ahead and close that. So we close the project. We won't have to do all the individual readings, so we can kind of skip over that.
Thank you.
So we'll go back to build a basic user interface. So go on Xcode if you're not already there. And we want to, let me see, create a new Xcode project. Remember to do that, we go into single view app.
Product name. Base record.
Give it a product name, probably something different than before, otherwise it probably will give you issues. So I'll call this D-Hop,
Food tractor.
David's IHOP.
No.
Food tractor.
Now,
No, not the Duff movie. No.
now over here, how do you make things bigger in Safari?
Ask JC. Apparently.
Siri really wants me to watch the Duff movie.
You can't do it.
Okay, that should be easier to see. Okay, so we're adding in this. Remember, you want your include unit test selected if it's not already selected. And you want to leave these two blank. We'll click next. When we get down to that point, it says in dialog appears, select location to save your project and click create. Probably the best place to save it to say is the desktop. So we can easily find it, easily clean it off later. And then you see it says create your repository. I think they want us to uncheck that, if I remember right.
Which few boxes are we not supposed to click?
Let me go back.
Where's the box?
Which are boxes supposed to? So single view app.
Single view app. And then
Oh.
you only want to include unit tests.
Just like last time, Jack said.
Okay, and so then after you do your next, where we're at in the tutorial, dialog appears, select the location, save your project. Like we say, you go to your desktop. and then click Create. Now you see where it doesn't really say it. I can see it, but it says create this repository, and for the source control, and you can leave it that way because that's what the tutorial says. Idea is that what source control is you create your code and you check it out to make future changes. And then if for some reason you really mess it up, you can go back to a previous version. That's part of the problem with programming is if you don't have some kind of source control, then you can screw it up. It's like, well, what do you go back to then? And so at this point, I'll just click Create. Comes up here. And this just talks about the different windows, which we've talked about. We got our navigator area, this area on the left. Your utility area is the area on the right, and then your editor area is in the area in the middle, and then you got your toolbar across top.
This font is ridiculously big. Come on. I don't want it to be big.
It talks about running the iOS simulator. And remember, let me go back to this. Up here at top, where it says iPhone 8 Plus, you can choose that. And you can choose a different simulator. They're telling us to choose, use the iPhone 7 option. So choose iPhone 7.
There we go.
Now at this point, now that you got that chose, you can click this build and run. Let's see, do they want us to do that? Yeah, click the run button. So you click the run button. And it'll launch our simulator. Basically a pseudo phone. And in the process, this is went ahead and created our app, even though there's really nothing there. Now I'm going to scoot this down because I want to be able to easily grab it. Let's see. So we get here, it's talking about the blank. It says review the source code. To look at the app delegate Swift source file, make sure the project navigator is open. That's this project navigator here. Heather, yours came up, it wasn't open to begin with. That's where you can come up here and you do your view, and this is how you can then open up whatever. If I want to show the project navigator, for example, I'd do a view navigators, show project navigator. Ours is open though, and they tell us to view app delegate Swift. Oops. So you click that, and that'll bring it up here, and you can see the code. This is all the different places. I'm not going to go over each one of these because we did last time. This is all the different places where we put that code. Like that code you're just writing in the Android app class. This is where we'll put that code. You notice how there's, again, beginning curly bracket here and closing curly bracket? Yeah. Well, that's universal. Well, I shouldn't say universal. Some programming languages use different things, but that's in a lot of languages. What do you think this // is? It's a comment. And we'll see that. That's actually the same thing you would have saw over in the Android. If you looked up there, maybe you saw some things commented out. Okay. Then they're telling us, okay, select that. Let's talk about what the source file is, blah, blah, blah. Says view controller source file. Again, you just click that and brings that up. Now, if you double click it, which I did by accident because I was thinking I'm in Windows, it brings it up in a new window. So if you want to have multiple windows open, then you can do that. Let's see, what else is, talks a little bit about the file. tells us to open our storyboard. It says in the project navigator, select main.storyboard. So come down here to main.storyboard, and this is our app. This is your interface. This is where you'll drop your components, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so now to build the basic user interface, it says to add a text field to your scene, choose Editor in Canvas, and make sure the Show Bounds rectangles is selected. So I'm going to go back to Xcode, and I'm going to choose Editor Canvas. Remember, depending upon which application you have selected on a Mac, controls what the menus are across the top. So I choose Editor, Canvas, and my Show Bounds rectangles already selected. Then it tells us am I going too fast? Okay, I'm assuming from the other day you got this mostly done. Open the object library. Object library appears at the bottom. Again, if it's not open, you can do View, Utilities, Show Object Library. Mine's already open. You see the little yellow down here in the bottom right-hand corner? We want to drop on a text field. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to resize some of this. I don't necessarily want to close it yet, because I don't know what the utilities or the tutorial's wanting. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, that's good enough. And we go down and scroll down, and you see there's a text field here. And I think that's what they're wanting us to add. If you click and hold down and drag, you can drop it on your iOS app. Now, if I remember right from the tutorial, they're wanting us to lock that into place. So we want to do it over on the left side. So I can put my mouse over this. It becomes a little hand. Click and hold down, and you can move it. And as you move it to the far left, it'll that little dotted vertical line will appear, and you can lit up on it. Then they're talking about they want you to resize it. So this should already be selected. And when it's selected, you can see the little white square over here. So you can click and hold down on that and drag. Oops, let's try that again. Thought I had it. You can click and hold down, move it to the far right until the little vertical line appears, lit up, and that's what they wanted us to create there. Still good? Okay. Then they talk a little bit about the attributes. It says with text field selected, open the attribute inspector in the area. So if I have this selected, I think it was a little one that looked like a flag, or it's this one right here. If you see where my mouse is circling. Everybody locate that? Okay. And it shows you different things about your text box. Let's see. In the Attributes Inspector, find the field labeled placeholder and type enter meal name. So here in the placeholder, we're going to type enter meal name and press enter. Now remember what the placeholder is it puts a little gray back there so you can kind of have a hint on what you need to put in that field. It says press return to display the new. Okay, we did that. To configure the text field's keyboard, remember how we changed, I think, that the button to done, so that after you get done typing your number, you just click the done. You come down there, you want to choose the return key. Wait a minute. Make sure the text field is selected. In the attributes, find the field labeled return key and select done. I had trouble seeing this the other day too. There it is, return key. So you choose that, and then you click on done. They also want us to, in the Attributes Inspector, select the Auto Enable Return Key checkbox. Again, scroll down if necessary. Auto Enable Return Key. If you put your mouse over it, no, I thought it did pop up. I'm confusing the packages. Okay, next add a label. So come over here. I want to take this label and drag it, and I think they wanted it above the text box. And again, while I'm doing it, while I'm holding down, I'll just go ahead and move it to the far left because I know they're wanting that. Now, there's two ways of editing that. You could double-click it, remember? If you double-click that, you can just simply type it in there. So you type in meal name. You could also, over here in the attributes, type in the meal name over here. Now we want to add a button to the scene. So I'm going over here to the button, drag and drop that. And I think they want that left aligned also. So I'll put that there. If I remember right, they want us to rename it. So it says double click the button and type set default label text. So double click that and I'll say set default label text. Press enter. Remember, it resizes it so it's off the screen. So I'll grab it, move it over to the right, and our little dotted line appears again. Then it says it's good to understand how the elements you've added are actually arranged in the scene. Look at the outline view to see which user interface elements have been added to your scene. And they show you, again, where the button is. That's one I have a hard time finding, too. Oh, here. Let's see, if the outline view is collapsed, click the toggle to expand the outline view. You can use outline view toggle to collapse and expand outline view as needed. So if I click it again, it'll put that back. Now that doesn't really matter so much here. That's if you can't see it all on the screen. Like you mentioned, you'd set the font kind of big. You know, if you needed to see more screen space. Let's see, the views, okay. First responder, preview your interface. So it tells us to click the assistant button in the Xcode toolbar near the right corner. Open Assistant Editor. So the two little circles up here, we click that, shows us our Assistant Editor. And this is again an example of where you can't see it. If you want more space to work, collapse the Project Navigator and Utility area by clicking the Navigator and Utilities button in the Xcode toolbar. Remember that was these buttons up here, the upper right hand. And if I click this hides or shows the Navigator. Like that. And if I click this, hide or show the debug area. Looks grayed out now, doesn't it? Because we haven't done anything to have a debug area. So, but if that pops up with some action you're doing, that's how you'd hide it. And then this right here, hide or show the utilities. So that'll hide the utilities. Those are useful if you want to have the most space possible there. Now I click the X just to close that, the code window. Good so far? Okay. What do they want us to do? Actually, I think that's where we were last time, wasn't it? Okay. So let me start in here. So we want to preview periodically to check everything's looking the way you expect. You can preview your app's interface using the Assistant Editor, what we just did. Click the two little circles up here. Comes up with our editor select bar. That talks about shutting them off. In the editor select bar, appears at the top. You can switch from automatic to preview or mains automatic to preview mains.storyboard. So here you can come to automatic preview main storyboard. Does everybody see where they're referring to? Where I clicked was right here where it says automatic, preview, and then main storyboard. Okay, so then once you do that, so you can see in the Assistant Editor, preview looks almost identical to the canvas. However, this does not tell you anything new. Both canvas and preview are showing the same size screen, iPhone 7, same orientation. If you want to check and see if your interface is adaptive, you need to preview different screen or size screens and different orientations. To preview the landscape orientation, click the rotate button at the bottom of the preview. And
So it says iPhone 8 portrait.
I'm probably looking right at it.
There you go.
Oh, there. Okay, so you click that. It looks like this. Do you see the purpose of the preview then? The other one is just where you're designing your screen. This is if you got your iPhone, what happens when you turn it sideways? Flips, doesn't it? So this shows you what does it look like when you flip it. And then if you put your mouse over that, you see the buttons there again, and you can flip it back. Says, unfortunately, things no longer look right. I didn't even notice they didn't look right. The text field, label, and button keep the same size and position relative to the screen's upper left corner. This means that text field no longer fills the screen from margin to margin. Okay, so remember they had us change the text field to go all the way across? So I guess that was their goal of the design, is they wanted it to go all the way across no matter what. Says to preview a different screen size, click the Add button at the bottom of the System Editor, the little plus. So if we come back here, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. So you got this right here. If you want to shut off your utility area, remember you click the button up here. Shut off the utility area. And right now it says iPhone 8. And if you click the plus, you can choose something else. You can see what it looks like on an iPhone 4S. So if I click the iPhone 4S, doesn't look any different, does it? Past the screen's edge.
It's actually a super easy fix.
The what?
To make it switch.
Oh, yeah. iPhone X. Interesting. iPad. I did buy some 2 iPads. I may buy some more. I don't know. Ribbit Computing was selling their old iPads, and so I was thinking that'd be kind of cool for us to, use in class. Okay, so let's see what this say. Let's see. To create an adaptive interface, you'll need to specify how the interface should adjust to different screen sizes. For example, when an interface is rotated in the landscape position, the text field should grow. They want it to go all the way across. Interface is displayed in iPhone SE. What's an iPhone SE?
It's like it's the 5's form factor.
Is it?
The 6's hardware.
I don't have an iPhone yet. Trying to talk my wife into it, but they're expensive. Don't do it.
I have one.
I love an iPhone, but Android's a lot easier.
I got my Android.
I like Android because it's cheap, and I'm cheap.
I like being able to hack things in my Android.
Oh.
Oh, you.
Pokemon versus.
Now it says that you can specify these kinds of interface rules easily using auto layout. Adopt auto layout. Auto layout is a powerful layout engine that helps you design adaptive layouts or dynamically respond to any change in the screen's size. You describe your layout using constraints. Rules explain where one element should be located relative to another and what size the element should be. And that's an important difference from this and a lot of other design. If you're in any other programming language, pretty much you're designing your screen and you're telling it exactly where it's going to be. Now, there's a Java programming language. You probably heard of Java, the first class where I talked about it. And it's kind of based upon, you can design it with hard code and positions, but it's also based upon relative position. Because the idea is you don't know what kind of interface you're going to have, what size, and so forth. So it should be able to adapt accordingly. Okay, one of the easiest ways to find your layout is using a stack view. Stack view provides a streamlined interface for laying out a collection of views in either column. Stack view uses auto layout under the hood to calculate the size and position of views it maintains. It says to adopt the auto layout, wrap your existing interface elements in a stack view and then add the constraints needed to position the stack view in the scene. And they're going to walk us through that. It says to add auto layout constraints to the meal scene. Return to the standard editor by clicking the standard button. And that's next to the 2 little circles and it looks like a bunch of lines. So if we come here, go back to our lines. It says expand the, well it says to get the navigator back, you click that. To get the utilities back, you click that. So if I click that, you can get that up here. Click that, you can get that back. While pressing the Shift key on your keyboard, select the text field, label, and button. Now what this is doing is if you hold down your Shift key and click those, you're selecting all three. So that's how you can select all three. A lot of packages, and I don't remember if this one has it, is you can use where you can draw like a rectangle, and it'll select everything in your rectangle. Let me try that. I'm just curious.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of standard. It doesn't matter what package you're working with; they like that rectangular. The reason why is if you have 25 elements on your screen, instead of clicking 25 times to select all of them, you can use that rectangular select. Okay. So we got them all selected. Then it says on the bottom right of the canvas, we want to click the Embed and Stack button. And alternatively choose Editor, Embed in Stack View. And they kind of got this blown up a little bit. You see it's, what was that, like 3 boxes with an arrow?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like a stack of something, and then the arrow indicating that you're adding it to it. So if I go back to my window here, and I choose that, it says Xcode wraps the user interface elements in stack view, stacking them together. Xcode analyzes your existing layout to figure out the items you should stack vertically, not horizontally. And they give you a picture here. If necessary, open the outline view and select the stack view object. You see I got my stack view. That's curious. Do you got a safe area on yours? Under the view? It doesn't matter. Just the tutorial was so on a spot with everything matching perfectly. I'm surprised that it doesn't match perfectly there. Oh well. Okay. So we got that selected. Then it says in the attributes, type 8 in attributes expector, type 8 in the spacing field, and press return. Now notice I got stack view selected here, but they're all together, aren't they? So they're jammed in together. Let me resize this. Spacing. Spacing says 0. If we change that to 8 and press enter, what does it do? Put spacing between them. Yeah, so nothing too exciting, and it looks a little bit better, doesn't it? Now that's applied to this entire stack view we have here. So if you had other items inside there, it'd do the same thing. Put spacing between them. On the bottom right of the canvas, open the Add New Constraints. So it's one looks like a 2 lines with a box between them. So I click that, and it says Add New Constraints. I'm trying to get more of this to appear. Don't I need? Okay.
Yeah, I messed up on the add new constraints, so I went back and redid the first one.
Did you redo it?
Yeah, I'm back up to the add new constraints part.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to get the window back up here over here so you can see both at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to click this Add Constraints, 2 lines with a box between them. Pops up with this. They tell us 20,0,192. I'm assuming those are the values they want us to put in there. 20, 0.
It says type 0 in the left and right boxes and then type 20 spacing in the top box. I made the mistake of entering theirs and it totally screwed up.
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't do what the picture shows?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just do what, if you read underneath it, scroll down a little bit, it'll show you what to enter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I messed it up the first time. I had to go back and redo the thing.
So 20, 0.
That looks a lot better.
They're wanting to put 0 in there. 546.
20. 0.
20, 0, 0.
Type.
The what? Won't let you type?
Everyone hustle.
You don't have your box highlighted. Your everyday boxes.
Let's see. Width is 151. Height is 81. They don't want height checked, looks like. Says frames to update. Says
Yeah, mine doesn't show the update frames. Choose items of new constraints.
it's interesting. 20, 0, 0, 546. Got that checked. Constrained to proportions. Width and height actually shouldn't matter, but aspect ratio, line, leading edge. Scrolling doesn't do any good. Okay, we'll click Add 4 constraints. Oh, that wasn't good.
Yeah, I don't want to click on it. I don't want to click on it. This is where I messed up last time.
Which engine is your constraints?
Well, mine's more or less broken.
Mine's just fine.
Mine looks like
That's curious.
no, it's supposed to have spacing.
I think you
Labels.
maybe we should just listen
Well, let me read a little closer, even because I'm not reading it. It says these constraints indicate spacing nearest leading, trailing, and top neighbors. In this context, the term nearest neighbor means boundary, the closest, which can be the super view, another user interface element, or a margin. Because I'm constrained to margins, checkboxes selected, stack view will be constrained. Okay, on the other hand, it's this. Top layout guide is position, status bar is visible if not. Okay, type 0 in the left and right boxes, type 20 in the spacing top. In a pop-up menu next to update frames, choose items of new constraint.
Yeah, we don't have items in the constraint.
That's nice. Get this selected. Oh, I don't have it selected.
I think I shut down both.
Stack view. There it goes. Interesting.
Oh, I have that feature turned on where whenever I close my lid, it just shuts down my PC instead of sleep. So it just shut down something like that.
151 and 81.
Yeah, yeah. Very curious.
Change it to that.
Well, I mean, that's what it's telling us to enter in, so we'll leave it that way. The reason why it's telling us 4 constraints instead of 3, you probably notice as you change each one of these, it adds a constraint, yeah. And even though they tell us to put 81 in for the height, when you uncheck it, it's not really changing anything. So I'll go ahead and click the 4 constraints because that's all we can do. And we might have to modify it appropriately.
I know I have to go back to the restart.
That's okay. We're just. By the way, Control Z, yeah, not Control, but Command Z. I had to use Command Z just a little bit ago when I screwed it up.
Oh, I wish I would have known that whenever I redid my
Yeah, when you said that, I was thinking I need to mention about the undo.
Yeah, but I don't see an undo button, so I just want to redo it.
Now, where the undo
Then
is,
If you click on the side, you can, if you highlight it, you can just push the delete button. It just deletes everything that you just did.
yeah. If you come up here, there's an edit, and that's where your undo is. Now you can also, when you notice when it says edit, undo, update frames, it has a little command symbol and a Z. By doing the command Z, that undoes. And I don't know how far back the history goes, but if you screw something up, you can at least undo it to fix yourself. Wouldn't do you any good to have to actually recreate your app each time you made a bad mistake.
Yeah, I was wondering how that's a very fatal flaw, and that's anything you just screwed.
I have seen one programming package was that way. There was no undo. Okay. Now it says the in the label, text field, and button are now left aligned and laid out with additional spacing. But the text field still isn't stretching to fit the screen's width. To fix that, you'll add an additional constraint.
Right?
Here's a little what? Okay. Says in your storyboard, select the text field in the meal scene. This was a text field, wasn't it? So we got that selected. And on the bottom right of the canvas, open the Add New Constraints and Menus again. So if we click the Add Constraint, then we can type 0 in the right box. Now instead of adding 0, let me change that to add 200. And I click Add Constraint. What did it do?
Hold on a
Okay.
second. There, it's got its work.
Wow. Wow. You're joking?
Oh, I'm gonna fall asleep.
Oh.
Trying to figure out this spacing. Yeah, you're adding 6 constraints.
There, oh my god, no, shut
It was better than the last time.
Look, come here. You come here. Look, beautiful. Perfectly fine.
What's your constraints say? Click on the big box first. Yeah, but you don't have any spacing, because your spacing's at 0, that's why. And I'll do 8. Breaks.
There, look, see?
Oh.
Never,
Here.
never been far.
Click on the. This is space, but none of ours is. 20, 20, 20.
My space just.
That's not what I have.
Here, hold on. Let me see.
I changed it to 0. 465.
20. 20. 20. Is the bottom one 546?
The bottom one is 546.5 apparently.
Okay, what's your width?
335,
What's your height?
80.5.
There you go. It's fine now.
Alright, so
Okay.
don't listen to him. Here's the thing.
Now here's the stack view that we just did with the constraints is over here, which you've already discovered. And if you click that, you see how it has a constraint. Here's a lead and alignment constraint and so forth. As you change these, it'll change the spacing. So, you know, if I'm back here and I choose the inner meal right here, when you grab this and resize it, it resizes, you know, kind of just relative to the screen position. When you add a constraint, it's how far is it from the right-hand side. So if I come here and do add new constraint, and if I put 10, for example, and then choose add one constraint, it's colliding because I got two constraints.
Yeah, I've done one. I have like 6 or 7 of the same one. I was like, oh. There we go.
I only have 2.
I'm going to delete some of these constraints. By the way, how you delete constraints is you can click the constraint here and press your delete and get rid of that constraint. Okay. Well, I'm going to choose my stack view again. And you said you had the perfect numbers for the constraints to appear. What are they?
Alright, so you got 20 on top,
20 from the top,
20 on left,
20 on the left,
20 on right,
20 on the right,
546.5 on bottom.
546.5. Not 0.4?
No.
Okay.
Width is 335.
335,
Height is 80.5.
80.5.
Width is 50.
And I'll click Add 6 constraints.
Wow.
And they show you the sizes here, so you can see what in the world you were dealing with. Now, that's still not what they wanted. They wanted, no, this is for all of it. So then we have to add one for the meal, don't we?
Oh, I'm gonna punch.
So
They can.
Oh, well, time to get the lead.
Oh no.
now this 546.5. Oops. Let me get back to the constraints. If you click the 546.5, let's say he's wrong. It's not 546.5, it's 546.4. I come over here and I can delete that, and I can put a 4 there and press enter. So you don't have to actually redo the constraint each time. Once you have this up here, you can click whichever one and then change it. And then you can visually maybe see it. Though you probably can't see much change of the 0.5 to 0.4, can you? But this attributes over here is so important, whatever you're working with, because if you don't got it quite right, you can come over here and individually change each item. Is everybody able to change an item? Okay. Doesn't matter what you change to. They're just trying to introduce all this, all of this. Okay. So what they really want is they want us to select the text box or the inner meal name because we want to adjust it automatically. Now I could add another constraint, but what do you see to the right of it?
No.
Numbers, yeah. So let's take that 200. I'll click that, and then over here you could put a 0 in.
And that's what they have you do.
Yeah, then it goes all the way over.
I just did 8 top,
Or-
0 right and right, 8 at bottom, and then 335 and 34 with the height.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Let me go use the app. Why do you say that?
Okay. Let's see. We add new constraints. We've been playing with constraints quite a bit there. Checkpoint. Run your app in the iOS simulator. So if I come back to here, let's run it. I already got an instance running, so let me stop that and run it again. Build succeeded.
Mine has a massive text box.
Really?
Mine's
Yeah.
just fine.
Mine isn't. Why? Look at mine.
Mine works just fine.
What'd you do?
I don't know. I didn't do anything to it.
I wonder if you put a negative in there, if it'd go beyond the edge of the screen.
Okay. Do it.
Gee, look, it looks fine, right? Where are you? Where am I at now? Okay, here we go. Main storyboard. So it looks fine here.
Click on the text box. Go to restrict. What'd you do?
I didn't do anything. It just doesn't like me.
Also, my keyboard is never popping up. That's a problem I have.
Yeah, I
my
don't-
keyboard would not pop
See, I
up.
don't. It's fine here, and then I go to run it, right?
Mine.
Gotta give it a hot second. Okay. And it's a massive text box.
I think your height is screwed up on it.
I want to know how to make the simulator go to.
Sideways?
Yeah.
Now, once you have your simulator up and running, remember your menu choice
It
up.
doesn't work.
Yes.
What's your
Yeah.
height?
Your menu choice up here. This is where it would be. Like if I come up here and I choose hardware, you see there's a rotate left and rotate right. This is that you only have that menu when you got your simulator selected. So if I choose rotate left,
Cool.
like that.
Cool.
Mine still looks really weird.
Oh, your
What's
issue.
the width and height of them?
How do you implement the shake gesture? Do I shake the whole
Hold on.
thing? It was a joke. It's definitely a joke.
So you have this selected.
Yeah.
I didn't think I set mine.
On your constraints. What's the height on your constraints?
Oh, up here.
Not the big one, but the text box. 'Cause mine is auto set to 30. Is that what yours is? Why?
See, here we're just doing the, like if I wanted a 5 there. But yours actually is changing the size. Is your font size still 17?
Okay, well I fixed that. Now I have my button is really far down compared to what I have. Why?
Wow.
Look. Why is it way down there?
Okay, bring your computer.
What am I reading glasses?
Ah!
They just keep them on both ends.
How does my eyes start hurting? Still not used.
Hmm.
Where did this go?
Where's the what? The thing?
No.
Where's the It's click this button.
No.
They're gonna bring. Just go down the line and.
How about we expand this because someone decided
Huh.
Oh,
Do you find it?
no.
Oh.
My computer's just still on for some reason. So.
I'm not sure why it would be on yours, because you didn't change anything else, did you?
No. Why did I just do this? And I didn't do anything different. I just loaded it like a third time and then it worked.
It did?
Yeah.
So it's working now?
Well, it changed the big button. I mean, the big text box. Now the button's really far down.
it's not that far down.
Pretty far.
It's not that far down.
It's still
In your constraints, you don't see where it's like your button is in reference to the bottom of the text box?
It doesn't. Everything matches his,
Really?
right? Yeah. Should. Yeah. See, it all matches. In there.
It's not like it's the biggest deal in the world, though.
Ooh, it is.
It's not that far. It's not like it's to see.
Well, don't worry about that for now.
Okay.
Yeah, see, mine's
I'll see if I can find an answer to that.
Well, I'm getting the call.
It shouldn't be coming in just hard coded. That's the purpose is for it to, adapt. But I'm not sure why it's adapting that way.
Right.
Down here, your view as. What do you have that set as?
There's more to put up.
Do you have it as an iPhone 8?
The iPhone 8 Plus.
That's probably the reason.
Is it really?
Probably not.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think it'd be so different.
Still haven't said iPhone 8 Plus. Just close that point back.
I just changed mine to iPhone 8 Plus. Let me try to stop the emulator now.
Just.
No?
Everything's so difficult. Just like close the application. You're sitting there holding the power button. Simulation.
I don't know.
Yay!
It's iPhone 7,
It's
like
iPhone
you said at the
7.
beginning. Change it to iPhone
Well,
7.
I had to redo my whole project, so I changed it.
Do you change it to iPhone 7? Does it look good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
I guess the iPhone 8 Plus is superior.
No, it's not.
Interesting.
Go explore, Shepard.
Here we go. I don't know. Acid.
iPhone 7.
The contrast. Oh, I used a phone.
That's curious. See, I don't see my view down here. Is there an iPhone 7 down there?
Yeah.
Which one is it? It's iPhone 8.
Well, I mean, you just change it at
down
the top.
there.
You
Yeah,
just
it's at
change
the
it.
top that you change it.
Oh, he had it up run up here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I want my hand. I just want to punch things.
Interesting.
Can't.
Now, the reason why they're showing these layouts is because that is the challenge of getting it to look good on every phone. It looks good on iPhone 7, but looked horrible on iPhone 8.
Yeah.
And that's really, you learn the coding, which you guys saw in the previous class. You got that done. Then it's really kind of the layout, and that's where a lot of the focus is. Debugging auto layout. If you don't get the behavior you expect, use the auto layout debugging features to help you. These features can be accessed using the update frames button and auto resolve, and they point these down here. So those are your update frames option here, and here's your remove auto layout issues. And if you click that, you see you can reset to suggested constraints, or you can clear your constraints. So if you want to start over, I suppose, and you got your constraints all messed up, you can come down here and clear them, or you can click them over here and delete them. If you're getting warnings about misplaced views, use the update frames. Button updates frames. Okay, don't be expected. Click the resolve. Choose reset suggested constraints to the Xcode update your interface with a valid set of constraints. Choose clear constraints, remove them all, like we said. Wrapping up. In this lesson, you familiarize yourself with the contents of an Xcode project, and so forth. Okay, so we're done with part 1 there. So we won't repeat that again next time.
Cool.
Now over here in Xcode, if you let's see, do a save. So it's file save, or you can do your Command S. The what? Yours doesn't say that?
Maybe I didn't.
You probably did. It would have prompted you, I'm sure.
You would think. But
Yeah.
This is. Oh, maybe I didn't.
And then I'm going to click Xcode, and I'll quit Xcode.
I'll have my original food tracker.
I never did share my screen. Nobody came online, so that's okay.
You never saved it.
I never. Well, we didn't hear the ding, remember? I did turn my volume down, but I didn't think I turned it down that much. Okay, so I'm going to...
Just logged in. What?
All they would have saw me during the entire meeting is they would have saw my face. So they would have said something. They would have said, hey, share your screen, or I can't see. Now, if I go to the Finder, so that's a little blue-white guy down there. Yeah. You click that, and if you click Desktop, I think I just called mine dhop. And you see how it's a folder here? You double click that, and you got another dhop folder, and you got dhop test, and you got dhop.xcode project. If you double click dhop, you see it's a bunch of different files, which means once we get to the point, next time I'll actually have you create something that you can upload into Blackboard. You can't just upload one file. If you upload one file, then you're not uploading all of your project. Now, in terms of copying that to your flash drive, and I want to leave time at the end so you can actually copy it this time and make sure it's copied and so forth. You want to copy your main folder. So this right here. And you come up here, you can do an edit copy or Command C. And I don't have my flash drive hooked in, but then you would go over to your flash drive and save it. So go ahead and save your project on your flash drive. And then after you do that, go to your flash drive and make sure you got it saved. And then after that, then we're actually done for today. And I'll go ahead and put everything away.
What do you want?